Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and with Cunha potentially suspended and Aït-Nouri definitely suspended, it's time to get some transfer tips from those who know the game best, the FPL experts. So, of course, a massive shout out to the 100 top FPL managers who helped us out with their data this week. Really, really useful as always. I'm still adding more people to the experts group chat and mini league. So, guys, if you would like to join that, you think you are an expert, feel free to send me a DM on Twitter with your team ID because we are accepting new applicants to the series. But let's see what these guys are up to. So, I know you guys are curious about the transfers and maybe even those captain decisions as well, because yeah, an interesting week for captaincy. But let's do an overview first of all to see how many transfers are being made. And in general, we can see this is a week to make a transfer. 51%, over half of our experts will be making one transfer this week. 21% will be making two transfers, and 13% making three or more, with one of our experts actually making 4 transfers this week. No one's using the wildcard, though. I think most of our experts have used their wildcard by this point, to be totally honest. But what's most interesting, only 15% not making a transfer this week, which is way below average. So we can see in general that this is a week to make transfers. I'm sure you guys are going to have some issues in your team that need to be addressed. And in this video, we are going to reveal what the experts are doing to resolve many of those problems that I'm sure you guys have as well. So let's keep it moving with the global top picks. So looking through these players that the overall player base seemed to love for transfers this week, it's no surprise to see a Manchester United asset on top. This is the Man United effect in full flow. 400,000 transfers in for him already, and it's only Wednesday. Crazy stuff for the cheap Man United man who has been in great form recently. We also see Robinson and Isak with significant transfers in the overall player base. And our experts, well, they agree with these picks. They're seeing a lot of transfers in for them as well, although the order is very different. And we see this often, that yes, our experts and the overall player base often converge in their views on many picks, but the order of priority is often different. So we are going to go through that. Hall and Gabriel, a little bit of interest among our experts, but not as much as the overall player base. No change on Jackson this week, really. Enzo and Wood, the experts like these guys. And as for Iwobi, a surprising amount of our experts are going for him as well. He's not owned by any experts prior to this game week. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of our experts are bringing in the Nigerian man from Fulham. And Cole Palmer, no change on him, but as we know from if you've watched previous videos in this series, you will know by now that Palmer is at 100% ownership among the experts surveyed each week. So there's no room for new transfers for Palmer among experts. So yeah, these are the trends. I would say that majority this week are spot on. You know, we've got a lot of convergence between the overall player base and the experts, but there is a specific order in which the experts are prioritizing transfers in. But first, we need to find out who is being transferred out. So it's a big week to sell Wolves players. Despite their great fixture against Leicester, we could have some suspensions on our hands. And it starts off with goodbye to Ryan Aït-Nouri. I'm here all week. Aït-Nouri, 52 transfers out this week among our experts, out of the 76 owners from last game week. So we are going to see a 2/3 drop in Aït-Nouri ownership in this game week. I'm sure some of you guys will be able to just bench Aït-Nouri for this game week during his suspension, but many people will feel that his fixtures after his suspension are not good enough to justify keeping him anyway. So a mass exodus for Aït-Nouri. This is a huge amount of transfers out, and he really is the center of a lot of people's transfer moves this week. But let's not forget about Cunha either. Now, he is likely to be suspended. We don't know for sure if it's going to happen ready for game week 18, but 18, 17, what game week are we on? 17. But certainly what we do know is that he is going to get suspended at some point. I think some of our experts are being a little patient, waiting for news, others making moves early, but most of our experts are planning moves to remove Cunha, planning and anticipating the likely chance that Cunha is suspended this week. So just a warning to you guys, if you do have Cunha in your team, you don't have to make an early transfer move here, but you should probably be planning for a situation where Cunha is not available for Game Week 17. Just be aware that this is something that can happen, and therefore plan for it. So a lot of our experts are doing just that, planning to make transfers out for him, seeing him as a player likely to be out. So Cunha, 24 transfers out for him. He was at 74% owned last game week, so he's going to be in about 50% of teams. But I think if the suspension is confirmed later on this week, could be tomorrow, could be Friday, then we are going to see even more of our experts selling Cunha. Prepare to sell him. It is something that you might just have to do. Rodgers also with some transfers out here, 9 transfers out, but given the fact he is so highly owned, 9% or 9 transfers out is actually not a crazy amount. Semenyo, 5 transfers out for him. He's another very popular FPL asset among our top managers. But outside of that, we see a lot of players with a few transfers out, but these are pretty differential players anyway. So the 4 Johnson owners seem to be removing him this week. It is only an approximation, but it looks like Johnson, if you own him, just get rid of him at this point. Erling Haaland is going to drop even lower in ownership, and he's going to get to a point where barely any of the top managers have him in their FPL team anymore. Havertz's ownership is going to get slashed this week in half, as is Pedro Porro's, and Solanke and Welbeck are 2 other players that our experts are looking to remove. A lot of these guys are like Haaland, Havertz, Pedro Porro, Solanke are players who are, a little bit more expensive than maybe some other options in their positions that can do just as much damage. So I think that's a reason why a lot of these guys are being removed. And Welbeck at the bottom here, because of his potential injury and rotation risk in this busy fixture period, is also seeing transfers out as well. But guys, before we move on to who is being transferred in and who the best replacements are, make sure you do drop a like on the video. Massively appreciated on this video series, which a lot of love goes into this video to make sure it is the best it possibly can be. So all likes are appreciated. And guys, do subscribe if you want to follow along with the expert trends every single game week. But next, we've got to look at the transfers in, and with Ait-Nouri by far the most popular transfer out, it was bound to be a defender at the top of the transfer in list. And Robinson seems to be the super obvious replacement. What I like to call a slam dunk transfer. A transfer that is just perfect. It basically writes itself. It's a brain-free transfer. You don't need to think about this one. You probably don't even need to be an expert to make this transfer. A lot of you guys are probably thinking the exact same. I have Ait-Nouri. He's suspended and then has bad fixtures. Well, Fulham is a good defense. Robinson is a creative left back. Let's just get him in at the same price. Makes so much sense. So yeah, really obvious one for you guys if you're looking for a direct transfer to replace Ait-Nouri for this game week and you can't cover Ait-Nouri at all. You need a new guy with a good fixture. Robinson against Southampton. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But there are plenty of other transfer moves being made this game week involving Alexander Isak. So he was at 50% ownership last night, and 17 new owners are expected among the 100 this game week, which brings him into the template team, which we will be discussing shortly, of course. So yeah, if you're looking for a new forward, Isak is by far the most popular guy, but he's not the only option. But first, let's rattle through a couple of these midfielder picks. 14 transfers in for Ahmad, he's been impressing, and 9 transfers in for Enzo. I thought we might see a few more Ahmad, a few less Enzo this game week, to be honest, but actually it's a little closer than I thought it would be. But it does give us the answer. If you're looking for a new cheap midfielder for your FPL team, the experts do prefer Ahmad, but that's not to say Enzo is a bad choice. So you can go for whichever one you prefer, but Ahmad is the more popular guy. In terms of those other forwards, if you're going slightly cheaper, you can't afford to upgrade Cunha to an Isak, then how about Wood or Raul Jimenez? 9 transfers in for Wood ahead of some okay fixtures for Forest, fixtures where certainly the attackers can maybe get something from. Wood has been very reliable. And Raul Jimenez, a little bit of rotation risk there, but at 5% 5.5 million. That is just really, really nice value for money. So if you can downgrade a Cunha to a Raul, then that may allow you to upgrade other areas of your team and really put that money to work. Virgil van Dijk is also on here, a real surprise ahead of the Spurs fixture. Did not expect to see him in this list, but here he is. We're going to see a few more Liverpool defensive owners. Gabriel, very highly owned among experts. He is the most template expert defender right now, but even more people will be bringing him in now he has returned to fitness. Iwobi, few transfers in for him, like I mentioned before. Nothing crazy, but 4 new Iwobi owners. But it does put him behind Ahmad and Enzo in the pecking order for cheap midfielders. So one to consider, but maybe not the number one choice here. And of course, Lewis Hall completes the list. I'm sure when we looked at the overall transfers, the wider player base transfers, we saw Hall a little bit closer to Robinson. But in terms of those expert transfers, Robinson is by far the most popular pick between the two. And unless you already have Robinson, you're probably not looking at Hall as your Aït-Nouri replacement. As Newcastle's fixtures, yes, they do have Ipswich next, but it's quite mixed after that. Not the great fixtures that Robinson has directly ahead of him and in the slightly more longer term as well. So with all of that in mind, guys, I think we can move on to the template and see exactly what the expert teams look like in general. And you guys can tell me, is this similar to your team? Does this if you've got an expert template team, is your team looking pretty like expert approved right now? You guys will have to let me know. Of course, the average Game Week 16 score for the experts was 54.7 points. So did you guys outscore that? Can you do 55 or better in Game Week 16? If you did, you outscored the experts in Game Week 16. Congratulations, guys. And the average current rank among experts continues to improve. It goes up pretty much every week, doesn't it? 348,000 is the average current rank by mean, and the median is 296,000. So ever improving. Looking forward to seeing this closer. I want to see some more. I want to see some ones at the start of these ranks. I want to see the average rank with starting with a 1. That would be really, really nice. And I don't mean 1 million, by the way, guys. So experts, keep it up, keep improving, keep boosting that rank. We know the cream always rises to the top. Keep proving me right. Come on, guys. I believe in you. But looking through this template, no change in the goalkeepers. Fabianski and Raya, the 2 template goalkeepers. Gabriel firmly at the top, but he has got new competition in Robinson, who is the latest addition to the template, as we do start to see some shifts this game week. So Robinson is now going to be the second most popular defender among experts, followed by Timber, Alexander-Arnold, and the cheap bench option Greaves, who has dropped ever so slightly. In midfield, no change to Palmer. Very difficult to change when you are at 100%. The only way is down, but we've not seen that quite yet. A 1% increase for Salah, bringing him to 99% owned. Saka remains on 92%. Rodgers, he is starting to dip a little bit here, down from 68% owned among experts, down to 60 now, and I think that will continue to decrease. And we've got a new addition to the midfield template as Enzo reaches 29% ownership among experts. But, you know, there's going to be other players around 20%. The likes of Ahmad, maybe Semenyo is still around 20 to 25% owned as well among our experts, I believe. So there's lots of players as your 5th midfielder you might want to choose, but Enzo seems to be the popular guy right now in terms of that template. And we have had a shift around in the forward position as well. With Cunha dropping out of the template, we now see João Pedro, Isak, and Jackson as the most popular 3. So that's your template forward line. A little bit expensive, of course, with both Isak and Jackson, both 8 million plus men, and maybe that's not going to be affordable for everyone, but this is the template. We are seeing Cunha just below, so a little bit of a change around here. I wonder if we could see Wood, Raul Jimenez creep into the forward template in the near future, but I think that pretty much covers that. I enjoy seeing this evolve though, and it's always nice to see new players. Robinson, Enzo, and Isak are the latest additions to the expert template for Game Week 17. So let's suggest some combo transfers for you guys. So first of all, I think a lot of people will want to move Cunha to Isak if possible, and doing so is going to mean you're going to have to downgrade someone. Now, among our experts, Johnson is a popular player being transferred out. If you can downgrade Johnson to Ahmad, and that will free up enough budget to improve Cunha to an Isak, then I think that could really work, provided Cunha is, of course, suspended for Game Week 17. If you haven't got Johnson, there are other players. If you've still got Bruno or Mbermo, then these players could be sacrificed, but I think a lot of our experts have already sold these players to put some money in the bank. So that is going to be an option for you. Downgrade one of your midfielders to Ahmad or maybe Enzo, and that should allow you to improve Cunha up to Isak. It's not going to be possible for everyone, but it's going to be possible for a lot of people. If you want to upgrade Aït-Nouri, then maybe downgraded Cunha to a Wood or Raul Jimenez could allow the budget to improve Aït-Nouri up to a Gabriel or maybe a Virgil van Dijk there. That is definitely something that will be possible for you guys. Improve your defense and take some money out of Cunha and get that replacement for Aït-Nouri as well. I think all of these work really well as combo transfers based on our expert data this week. But I think there's a lot more going on in terms of those direct transfers. So Aït-Nouri to Robinson, super obvious as we mentioned before. But if you do have Cunha and it turns out you do want to sell him, the priority order is pretty much get Isak if you have the money spare, 1.6 million difference, maybe a little bit more depending on the price you bought Cunha at. But if you can't afford to get Isak, you can't really find any combo transfers to make, then maybe Wood could be a nice replacement for you. And finally, failing that, Raul Jimenez, particularly if you want to free up budget for other moves there as well. So Cunha, if he's the player you're selling, Isak, if not Wood, if not Raul Jimenez. All three great options for the game week. And I was surprised to see a few experts this week making what feels like a slightly luxury transfer of moving Rodgers to one of Ahmad or Enzo. Now, there wasn't a crazy amount of these, I guess, like for like cheap midfield transfers, but what I did notice was that those who are making the Rodgers to Ahmad or Rodgers to Enzo moves were mostly people who had a few spare transfers, so they were in a position to make luxury moves. These are certainly not moves you would be making for a hit, for example, and if you maybe only have one free transfer, it is maybe better off being used elsewhere. But that said, if you've got a lot of free transfers, you fancy a go on Ahmad or Enzo, maybe Rodgers is a player you sell in order to do that. But I think most transfers this week will be based around Aït-Nouri and Cunha if you have been following at least loosely on the expert template throughout this season. Which brings us to captaincy, and I'm going to be honest, guys, I thought it would be a little closer than this week. In fact, I'm glad it wasn't, because this helps with the decision making a lot. Last game week, it was so close between Salah and Palmer for our expert captain picks, and a lot of you guys were saying, oh man, I really wanted the video to help me make this decision, but it's just made it even harder because it's just so close. Well, we haven't got that situation anymore, as Salah is massively preferred for his fixture against Spurs. 75% captaincy selection on the Egyptian King against the Spurs defence that has in general been suffering recently with the missing personnel. Palmer is in second on 15%. He plays against Everton away, but we do know Everton have been a tough nut to crack recently. They have been a little trickier. So maybe Salah is the more obvious captain this week. But how about Alexander Isak? 8% of our experts will be captaining him this week against Ipswich. And we don't usually love Newcastle when they play away from home. And Ipswich, despite their poor defensive numbers, don't actually concede that many goals. So this is an interesting one. Isak is in just such good form at the moment that I'm sure a few of you guys will trust him as a differential captain. And outside of that, one person went for Saka and one person went for Gabriel. They did say when they were telling me their moves this week that they have a really strong gut feeling about Gabriel this game week, which is terrible FPL advice, but we are inclusive in the 100 experts videos, and even if one expert is a little bit crazy this week, we have to include them in the data for the sense of legitimacy. So there we go, guys. I'm not recommending you guys Captain Gabriel, but that said, we have definitely seen weeks in the past where one of our experts has captained like a random player, the whole comment section starts laughing, and then we come back to it the following week and we're kind of like, oh, wow, okay, that actually really works out. So you never know. Gabriel certainly has a very high ceiling with his clean sheet and goal threat from those set pieces, so you never know. But for me, I think I'll be sticking with the tried and tested Salah, Palmer, maybe Isak, because there's no trends outside of the big three for Game Week 17. But that's going to be it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. Check out another video if you would like to. Plenty of other videos on the FPL Mate channel. And I will see you tomorrow for yet another one. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.